We're going to end on a very high note this year. We're going to end with a presentation by a man who truly embodies the term patriot. Congressman Ron Paul of Texas enjoys a national reputation as the premier advocate for liberty in politics today. Dr. Paul is the leading spokesman in Washington for limited constitutional government, low taxes, free markets, and a return to sound monetary policies based on commodity-backed currency. He is known among both his colleagues in Congress and his constituents for his consistent voting record in the House of Representatives. Dr. Paul never votes for legislation unless the proposed measure is expressly authorized by the Constitution. In the words of former Treasury Secretary William Simon, Dr. Paul is the one exception to the gang of 535 on Capitol Hill. Ron Paul was born and raised in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. He graduated from Gettysburg College and the Duke University School of Medicine before proudly serving as a flight surgeon in the U.S. Air Force during the 1960s. He and his wife Carol moved to Texas in 1968, where he began his medical practice in Brazoria County. As a specialist in obstetrics gynecology, Dr. Paul has delivered more than 4,000 babies. He and Carol, who reside in Lake Jackson, Texas, are the proud parents of 5 children and have 17 grandchildren. While serving in Congress during the late 1970s, early 1980s, Dr. Paul's limited government ideals were not popular in Washington. He served on the House Banking Committee, where he was a strong advocate for sound monetary policy and an outspoken critic of the Federal Reserve's inflationary measures. He also was a key member of the Gold Commission, advocating a return to a gold standard for our currency. He was an unwavering advocate of pro-life and pro-family values. Dr. Paul consistently voted to lower or abolish federal taxes, spending, and regulation, and used his House seat to actively promote the return of government to its proper constitutional levels. In 1984, he voluntarily relinquished his House seat and returned to his medical practice. Dr. Paul returned to Congress in 1997 to represent the 14th Congressional District of Texas. He serves on the House Financial Services Committee, the International Relations Committee, and the Joint Economic Committee. On the Financial Services Committee, Representative Paul serves as the Vice Chairman of the Oversight and Investigations Subcommittee. He continues to advocate a dramatic reduction in the size of the federal government and a return to constitutional principles. Dr. Paul is the author of several books, including Challenge to Liberty, The Case for Gold, and A Republic If You Can Keep It. He has been a distinguished counselor to the Ludwig von Mises Institute and is widely quoted by scholars and writers in the fields of monetary policy, banking, and political economy. He has received many awards and honors during his career in Congress from organizations such as the National Taxpayers Union, Citizens Against Government Waste, the Council for a Competitive Economy, Young Americans for Freedom, and countless others. Dr. Paul's consistent voting record prompted one congressman to comment that Ron Paul personifies the Founding Fathers' ideal of the citizen statesman. He makes it clear that his principles will never be compromised, and they never are. Another congressman added that there are few people in public life who, through thick and thin, rain or shine, stick to their principles. Ron Paul is one of those. Ladies and gentlemen, Congressman Ron Paul.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. It's a real delight to be here. I appreciate very much the invitation to visit with you tonight. This, to me, is a special event because it turns out that 35 years ago, I attended the first Jim Blanchard conference. But also I want you to know I'm from the government, and you know how the old saying goes, I'm here from the government, I'm here to help you. But I think that's been changed a bit. I think it goes more like this, I'm here from the government, and I'm here to arrest you. But hopefully we can reverse that someday. Right now we have close to 100,000 federal bureaucrats that now carry guns. It was intended by the Founding Fathers that there would be no law enforcement locally by the federal government. That would be a state matter. But every year we add more and more individuals carrying guns enforcing laws on us. And that, of course, rejects the whole notion of limited regional government. H.L. Mencken once said that the most dangerous person to government is an individual who thinks things out for himself. That puts you into a very dangerous category because if you're at this conference, you're probably trying to figure things out for yourself. Which means that you continually challenge the government or figure out what the government is doing. You don't look to the marketplace to find out what interest rates are. You're trying to anticipate, what the Federal Reserve Board at their Open Market Committee is going to do on such and such date and what their next move is. So it's been completely turned on its head, but I do believe that there is an obligation of all of us to try to figure things out, and for quite a few reasons. How to preserve our freedoms and how to preserve our prosperity and figure out what to do about it all. So to me, this is very, very important. 1971 was a very important year. It was an important year in my history. It was an important year for monetary history. As a matter of fact, it was an important year for Jim Blanchard. Because it was in 1971 that the prediction of the Austrian economists came to light and came to fruition. The Bretton Woods system broke down. Henry Hazlitt in 1944, when they put the Bretton Woods together up in New Hampshire, he said it won't work, it will fail. And it was during the 1960s that I read about and studied about this and anticipated that the system would break down. And lo and behold, I remember Sunday night, August 15th, 1971, Nixon announces, the gold window is closed, 10% surtaxes on all imports, wage and price controls. But the disturbing thing to me occurred Monday morning, because the markets skyrocketed. The Chamber of Commerce endorsed the position. I thought, boy, this country is in big trouble. And it was then that I decided that at least I would, in a token way, speak out, figuring that at least to get it off my chest and say, I offered it, and then I can go back and practice medicine, do what I wanted to do. And I never anticipated a political career. But when I told my wife that I would be doing this, she said it could be a dangerous thing running for Congress. But I said, how could it be dangerous? And she wasn't even into the conspiracy theory or anything. And, but she said it could be dangerous because she had realized that, we had a large family, had a good practice. She says, it's dangerous because you could get elected. And I said, no, it can't happen because I'm going to be running against Santa Claus and Robin Hood. I'm not going to rob one group to give it to another. I'm not going to pretend we can continue this forever and that we have some serious problems. Well, it turned out that she was more right than I was, because I did not believe anybody would respond, and yet they did. Her explanation at the time was that people would believe me, and they're more interested in the truth than being lied to. And that was, 35 years ago. People, I think, are still seeking the truth. And I think if you give our campaign a little bit of credit, I think that was part of it. People want to hear the truth about it, and when they do, they can recognize it, and that's what we really need badly in Washington, D.C.